Hello friends, I am Dr. Pooja Tiwari from ABS Engineering College, Ghaziabad. So today we are going to discuss employee relations and labor laws. The topic that we are going to discuss today is aspects of industrial relations and emerging challenges in India. So moving further, we need to understand we have three aspects of industrial relation. The main aspects of industrial relations are: first, it talks about promotion and development of healthy labor management. Second, maintenance of industrial peace, avoidance of industrial strike, and third is development of industrial democracy. So now we will go one by one, we will try to understand what are these aspects talking about. The first is promotion and development of healthy labor management relationship. It basically indicates, it is one of the aspects of industrial relation is to promote and develop healthy relationship between the employer and employees, and presupposes what? Second is, in this it presupposes certain things: spirit or collective bargaining and willingness to take recourse to voluntary arbitration. The very feeling of collective bargaining makes them assume equal status in the industry. So collective bargaining concept is very important. This feeling may further industrial peace. So collective bargaining is a bipartite process where both employer and employee are engaged in the mutual consent, mutual agreement. In this, the existence or strong, well organized, democratic and responsible trade unions and also associations or the employers in the industry, which may ensure job security to workers and their participation in the decision making and give labor a dignified role in the society. So these associations tend to create grounds for negotiations, consultations and discussions on mutual basis, leading to good labor management relationship. Third in this case is welfare work, whether voluntary or statutory, provided by the state, trade union and the employers, do create, maintain and improve good and healthy labor management relations. Moving on further, the second aspect is maintenance of industrial peace. In maintenance of industrial peace presupposes the absence of industrial strike. Such peace can be established only when the following rights and privileges are enjoyed by the state and facilities for bipartite or tripartite consultation machinery for resolving disputes, if any, are provided. So first point is machinery for the prevention and settlement of industrial dispute. This is very important, this we need to understand. So this machinery should be established through legislative and administrative enactment. Understand this particular thing, how it has to be established: by legislative and administrative enactment. Second, the provision of the bipartite and tripartite forums for the settlement of disputes must be made. Various courts, model standing orders and procedures to resolve disputes are necessary. So the settlement of disputes is second aspect which is mandatory, which is necessary. Third is appropriate government must have sufficient power to refer the disputes to adjudication or arbitration when it feels it necessary in the interest of the industry or of the country. So the government must not allow any group in the industry to stop production due to strikes or lockouts. That has to be taken into concern. Fourth point is implementation cells and evaluation committees must be established having power to look into the implementation of various agreements, settlement and awards, and also to violation of statutory provisions under various labor laws. When we talk about third, the development of industrial democracy. Now, what is the idea of industrial democracy? First of all, we need to understand it is that the labor must have the right to associate with the management in the running in the industry. They should feel that they are a part of that particular organization, they are a part of that particular company. So in this connection, following techniques, there are certain techniques which we have to establish. The first is establishment of shop councils and joint management councils. What we have to do? Why we have to do this? At the floor level and at the plant level, these has to be established to improve the working and the living conditions through mutual consultation and understanding. It will create necessary climate for the development of industrial democracy. Second, increase in the labor productivity through different means. So we have to increase the productivity of the labor. How labor productivity can be increased, that has to be taken care into concern. Third is recognizing the labor not as a commodity but as a human being in the industry, allowing them feeling of self-respect and better understanding of their role in the organization. So people should be treated as asset, not as a machinery or the tool. Fourth is the material and the social environment to which the worker adjusts and adapts himself while at work must be available. Fine. So this is what we need to understand. Now we have to understand what are the challenges in India. Suppose a fatal happened in any factory and the worker is contract labor. Now the contract ran away as soon as this incident occurred. As IR manager, what would you do? So this is one situation. So you will find there is no provision for compensation by employer for death of a contract labor inside factory premises in contract labor. Regulation and Abolishment Act 1976. So still you have to do something. You have to find out the way as a IR manager. So an IR manager has to be prepared for these types of scenario. So let us now explore, let us now move towards emerging challenges in IR. What are the different challenges? So labor is a subject in the concurrent list of the Indian Constitution, where both center and state can amend and frame the labor laws. So as a labor laws, it becomes difficult for IR managers to follow the laws strictly. In this cutthroat competition, dependence on contract labor is increasing at phenomenal rate. Many companies like automobile companies, there are many companies which are recruiting this. So there are not that many amendments are made in Contract Labor Act, that is Regulation and Abolition Act 1970, which could really cover all the dynamism of contract labor issues. So as a result, what is happening? IR managers are found with albatross around the neck. They have a real problem dealing with these contract labor. So the role of unions, the second is many times the role of unions are not defined, not mentioned. Fine. So we have to understand the role of union. A protected workman is defined, but there are no such provisions for factory managers. Productivity and flexibility are not mentioned anywhere in Industrial Dispute Act 1948. So it becomes difficult to retrench any worker or take any step, fine, to take any step even though he is not working as per the expectation. So formation of trade union is a fundamental right in India. There is a lot of misconceptions regarding collective bargaining issues, if it is fundamental right or not. So that has to be taken care of. Difference in wages of the regular employees with that of the contract labor is a major issue of concern and is one of the main cause for several disputes, because many times it has seen that there is no difference in nature of the job between regular employees and contract labor. Even if we can take the example of Maruti Suzuki Manesar case, where the conflict happened just because of this conflict between a regular labor and contractual labor. So in race of earning profits, many organizations have introduced the concept of contract labor in practice. So which is the most critical issue as far as the applicability of labor laws are concerned. Many cases contract labor issues, either it is, we can take example of BHEL Workers Association Haridwar versus Union of India Air 1985 SC 409, or we can take example of Geman Indian Limited versus Union of India AR 1967, one can find the difference in opinions regarding implementation of labor laws. Every judgment has its own opinion towards the applicability of labor laws. Not only contract labor issues, an IR manager have to be very cautious while dealing with the issues regarding trade unions, collective bargaining, compensation and different issues in the fact. So, there are many challenges which are coming into a scenario, that is trade unions, collective bargaining, compensation, there are different issues, fine, which is coming into a scenario. So, now let us understand how, in what way we have to deal with these challenges. So, for sustainable growth, organizations have forgotten the essence of an employment relationship. They are allowing the business to be driven by dreams that they have to fetch profit at any cost, they have to generate profit at any cost. They knowingly or unknowingly are involved in the practice of exploitation of the social resources. It has resulted into the perils of indifference among the workers. There is no denying, this is no denying the fact that the Manesar incident has not only damaged the image of Maruti Udyog, but also damaged the social image of incredible India and especially Gurgaon. So, now let us understand how we can manage these issues, how these issues of trade union, these contract laborers or IR managers can be handled. So, to deal with the trade union contract laborers, IR manager should minimize the use of jargons and they should try to communicate in simple language and if possible try to communicate in local language to avoid any confusions. It is very important for the IR manager to understand that he is dealing with the labor group of people, unskilled set of people, and language plays a very important role into it. Second, if we talk about review different labor laws, civil laws and consult with the company legal representative to assure if the company is in the compliance with all the legal regulations. So, now we have to understand, after discussing the concept of trade union, contract laborers and IR managers, as just now I have told you that Maruti Udyog Limited, the case of Manesar was nothing but it was due to a problem between the contract labor and again a regular labor, fine, and it has gone across the nation. It has exploited, it has spoiled the image not only of that particular industry, not only a particular company, but across the world. So, now we have to understand how, in what way we are going to make some amendments in Contract Labor Act. What are the various actions that has to be taken on the part of the IR managers, fine, how, in what way we are going to deal with the various kind of trade unions, first thing. Second, time to time we have to go for review different labor laws and civil laws. So, it is the responsibility of government. We all know that there are three parties which come into this scenario. What are the three parties? Employer, employees and government. Now, what is the role of government? The role of government is nothing, is to review, that means we call it amendments. What we call it? We call it amendments. So, how we go for amendments? Amendments are generally done by analyzing, what we analyze? By analyzing change, if there is any change, because why? Because the environment is very dynamic in nature, there is a dynamism in the environment. So, based on dynamism in the environment, understanding the dynamics of the market, understanding the dynamics of the country, the regional, political, the environmental scenario of the country is influencing the working of the people. So, we cannot go with the same laws, time to time there have to have an amendment in these laws. So, the labor committee, I hope appropriate government is quite clear. What is appropriate government? Appropriate government is Ministry of Labor and Employment, and they have to ensure, they have to understand that they have to review the political, the technological, the sociological, the environmental changes in the particular country. So, the labor law will differ from one country to another country according to terms and conditions of that country, according to situation of that country. So, time to time we have to, what we have to do, we have to, the government have to review different labor laws. They have to review the laws, we have to review the civil laws, so that the changing situation they can address, they can adapt according to the changing situation. First thing. Next we talk about employees concern. As a manager, as a management, to handle the challenge of the people, like what are the various challenges we have gone through, like it can be a challenge of grievance where the people are not satisfied, fine, people are going for a strikes, people or the companies are going for lockouts. So, these are the various challenges, these are the various concern. So, employees concern, whether their demands are being justifiable or not, whether the companies are addressing the employee concern or not. So, in what way they are addressing the employee concern, that is what we have to see. So, employee concern is an important thing, that how, in what way you are going to engage the people, how, in what way you are going to redress the dissatisfaction level of the people. You have to understand how you are going to redress the grievance thing, and that is what one component in Factories Act 1948, wherein we have to appoint, every company need to appoint one grievance redressal cell. So, this is how what are the various kind of employees concerned, what are the areas in which they are concerned, fine, and accordingly we have to remove, we have to redress, we have to address the concern of the people, so that a harmonious relationship between people, a harmonious relationship between two parties can be organized. What are these two parties? These two parties are employer, fine, and employee. So, these are the two parties which are actually running your industry. So, industry is nothing, these are the two parties which are actually running the industry. So, it becomes very crucial, it becomes very important on the part of the organization to address the employee concern. Next comes the dispute settlement. Now, this is very important thing. There are various settlement machineries that we have in our industrial relation. How we are going to address, how we are going to redress the dispute settlement machineries. We have different courts and tribunals, we have a different labor officers. Apart from that, we have a machinery like arbitration and adjudication. So, here comes the role of the government, how, in what way they are actually making or how they are intervening, in what way the labor laws are being implemented, first thing. Second, if there is a dispute between employer and employee, if that most of the organization they try that the dispute should be settled within the organizational premises, fine, and that is why we have a particular grievance redressal machinery, wherein we can address the dissatisfaction level of the people. We can address that how these people can be addressed, how these disputes can be settled, that is what we need to understand. So, dispute settlement is very important, and that is why we say that dispute settlement should be done at the initial level. I hope the concept of dispute is very clear. Generally what happens, the dispute arises from the grievance, that means a grievance, from where the grievance come, it comes from the complaint. When the people complain and their complaints are not addressed, then these complaints take the form of grievances, that means they take the form of dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction can be due to any of the component of the organization, it can be a real or it can be imaginary. Many a times there are real situation and people get dissatisfied with that. Many a time, although there is no such situation, but it is the imagination of the person, it is what they think, and accordingly based on their attitude, based on their perception, the people what they do, they get dissatisfied with the various components of the organization. So, what happened, this grievance turns, this complaint turns into grievance. After grievance, if it is not addressed at this particular level, Fine, we have to understand that grievance should be addressed at this particular level. If it is not addressed at this particular level, there is a possibility that people start forming union. That means one person will share to others, that person will share to a next person, and automatically what will happen? The people will start forming the groups. They will start forming, they will have a same level of dissatisfaction and because of which what will happen? This will lead to what it will lead to? It will basically lead to formation of, or it may lead to dispute or strike. So, it becomes very important on the part of organization to address the grievance or the complaint of the people at the initial level, first thing. Second thing, under dispute settlement, they need to understand what are the different machineries we have to settle the disputes. As I have discussed just now, we have a different settlement machineries, we have different dispute settlement machineries, and according to that dispute settlement machineries like courts and tribunals, arbitration, adjudication, what kind of grievance redressal officers we have, in what way we are listening to the grievances of the people, in what way we are actually addressing the complaints of the people, all these things play a very important role in dispute settlement. Coming to next is job rotation or transfer policy. Fine. Now, I hope the concept of job rotation or transfer policy is quite clear, but still will be. So, this is one of the way how we can address the challenge of the people, the grievance of the people, how it can be addressed. So, job rotation is nothing wherein we are, what we are doing, we are rotating the person from one position to another position. We are making him multitasking. We are making a person to perform the different type of task. So, that is a job rotation, rotating a job. Fine. Suppose today person is doing some other task, as task he is doing, and tomorrow that particular person is assigned the new task. So, that is job rotation. But mind it, when we are doing a job rotation, we have to take into concern that person should have a required skill to perform that job. We didn't need to provide him the additional skill set or additional training. So, that is what we have to do in case of job rotation. We can change, we can rotate the person from one particular job to another job, first thing. Second is transfer policy. Transfer policy should be very clear among the people. Fine. When the people can be transferred from one factory to another factory, one location to the another location. So, many a times this is also one of the reason of grievance. So, these two policies should be very clear. The policy on the part of the organization should be very clear. Rather, when we go for making the policy, designing the policy or formulating the policy, what we have to do, there should be a mutual consent between employer and employee. It should not be contractual, it should not be imposed. Rather, if we talk about a democratic scenario, if we talk about collective bargaining, fine, what we have to do, we have to frame the policy by a mutual agreement between employer and employee. So, just now I have discussed collective bargaining is what? Collective bargaining is a process which is bipartite in nature. Bipartite, that means there are two parties. Bi is two, partite is party. So, there are two parties. Fine. One party is employer, other is employee. So, whenever they are making decisions, whenever they are formulating any kind of policies, whenever they are laying down any kind of policies, what they have to do? They have to make a consent. There should be a mutual agreement between employer and employee. It should not be imposed. It should be a mutual agreement, and based on that the transfer policy should be done. That is what we need to understand. This is something very important. Fine. So, now we need to see why we are talking about industrial relations so much, why it is so very important, why this industrial relation concept itself is very important. Before going into this, I hope you people are very much clear with the concept of GDP. There is a direct linkage, rather than going into the detail of this topic. First, there is a direct linkage between two things, between IR or in present scenario we call it ER, that is employee relationship. Fine. So, this is a traditional term, this is a newer term, employee relations, and there is a direct linkage between employee relations and GDP. I hope the concept of GDP is quite clear, that is gross domestic product. That means in an year, fine, how many goods, products and services are produced by a country. Okay. So, when we talk about GDP, if let us suppose if any country or if any particular industry have strikes, lockouts and there is no production is going on, the relationship between employer and employee is not harmonious in nature, is not good in nature, is not peaceful in nature, automatically what will happen? There is a loss of productivity. What will happen? There is a loss of productivity. Due to strike, there is a possibility that factory may remain closed for 2 months or 3 months or 4 months. So, what will happen when the factory will remain closed for such a duration due to strikes or maybe due to lockouts or maybe slow down strikes and people are not working? What will happen? It is directly going to influence the economic growth of the countries. So, directly there is an impact between, there is a direct relationship between IR, how good employer and employee are sharing the relationship. The way they are sharing the relationship is going to influence what? Is going to influence the productivity. So, here you can see the first point is higher productivity. If the relationship between employer and employee is harmonious in nature, is peaceful in nature, the employee feel that they are a part of the organization, they are one of the member of the organization, automatically it increases the employee satisfaction and which in turn increases the productivity of the individual. And when the individual productivity is increased, automatically that individual will contribute towards department and department will contribute towards organization. So, this is how the hierarchy goes. So, I hope you can understand the linkage. Now, industrial democracy, just now I have discussed democracy where the employee they feel they are a part of that organization. So, higher the democracy level, higher the satisfaction level and in turn the productivity level which is directly influencing the GDP. Fine. Collective bargaining, just now we have discussed what it is bipartite in nature. That means there are two parties which are involved into it for the mutual agreement. If there is a mutual agreement, it is directly influencing the economic growth of the country. Higher the production, higher will be the GDP rate. Higher benefit and facilitation of change. Obviously, if any company have to incorporate, have to address, have to come up with a new change, they have to inform, they have to communicate well with their employees. They need to have a full commitment and dedication on the part of the employee regarding change, because these are the people who are going to implement the change. These are the people who are going to use a different kind of technology and will bring a change into the organization. So, if the relationship between the employer and employee is harmonious, is good, is peaceful, then automatically it will help the organization for the facilitation of change. That means, if any change is there, the resistance toward that change will be very less. So, resistance is less, automatically what will happen? If there is a less resistance, this will facilitate a change and it will help the organization to produce more, to accommodate according to the changing demand of the technology across the world, and people will be cooperating to lead the demand. So, I hope the concept of aspects, challenges and these things are quite clear to everyone, and because of that we can see we have seen till now we have 2-3 things that we have discussed. The first is aspects, the next is emerging challenges and how to address these challenges. So, I hope the lecture is quite interesting and you are able to understand the concept. Thank you very much.